Joe Biden is edging closer to the White House as the final votes are still being counted 3 days after the U.S. election. Most tallies in the remaining undeclared states have swung in favor of President Donald Trump's Democratic challenger. The latest figures show Biden with 264 electoral college votes ahead of President Trump with 214. In Georgia, where 16 electoral votes are up for grabs, it's an extremely tight race. Biden has pulled ahead of Trump by just over 1,000 votes, with 99% of votes counted at this point. Pennsylvania is the biggest prize yet to be decided, with 20 electoral votes at stake here. Joe Biden has just overtaken Trump and is leading by a tiny margin. 98% of votes there have now been counted. In Arizona, votes are still being counted as we speak. The AP news agency has called for the state for Biden, but most other media outlets have not called it yet. 11 electoral college votes are at stake there, which we're including here in Biden's count. But that could still change, of course. It's also tightening in North Carolina, where Donald Trump has a 1-point lead with 94% of votes counted at this point. There are 15 electoral votes up for grabs in the state of North Carolina. Joe Biden currently has a slim lead in Nevada. The state carries the 6 votes he needs to win. Reporting from the state shows 84% of the vote has already been come in at this point. So with votes still being tallied, Donald Trump's path to victory is looking increasingly difficult. States in red or blue have been called by AP for Trump or Biden. States in lighter blue or pink are leaning toward Biden or Trump, respectively. Any one state will give Biden the lead. Trump needs a combination of states to win. Following the tight race for Pennsylvania's 20 electoral votes is DW's Stefan Simons. He's in Philadelphia. Stefan, it's good to see you. Stefan, as we just heard, the race in Pennsylvania is, in fact, tightening. What's going on there?
Well, we're right in front of the convention center again here, the Pennsylvania Convention Center, where the vote count actually never stopped. They counted throughout the night here in Philadelphia. That is not true for all the surrounding areas here and counties. They stopped overnight and are now picking up the vote count again. But as you said, if AP is reporting that Biden took over in the lead here of Donald Trump, then that be so. I have not heard this ourselves. We haven't heard it here. Other networks are not reporting this. And the latest number I have are maybe obsolete now, but there is still a vote out of 20,000 votes, which Trump is in lead. At least that's what we have, 20,000 around that. And but it is declining. And here's the thing. Why is it declining? Because Joe Biden is picking up in the count, in the mail-in ballots, which have been cast by Tuesday, by November 3rd, at a rate of 75%. And if this goes on like this, then there are statisticians and people who are analyzing this. They're saying that he could win Pennsylvania by 70,000 votes. That would be a comfortable takeover and would put him over the top. As you pointed out, by 20 points, he would be the president of the United States.
You're clearly trying to stay up to date with by the minute, looking at your cell phone there. What have you been hearing about what else will happen today?
Well, we were told that there will be more and more count tallies be released throughout the day here in Philadelphia and from the surrounding counties. So why do I say and point this out? Is because those surrounding counties like Allentown, that's actually a county and a town, of course, city, of course, Allentown, Bucks, Allegheny, etc., they will still count. There are still 150, 160,000 votes to be counted in all over Pennsylvania. So they will step by step throughout the day make the vote count and the latest tallies available to us, to the public, to the media, so we can report it. But as you pointed out, it looks like Joe Biden is on the way to take over Pennsylvania here. Now, it looks like, again, there can always be a surprise here and there, but as of now, it is fair to say that he has a good chance to seal the deal today, and if not today, then very, very early Saturday morning.
Stefan, we have about 30 seconds left here. Clearly, the president had been using some very emotional language throughout the day. In fact, the last few days. You are on the streets of Pennsylvania. Are you feeling the political divisions of the nation right there in the streets in Philly?
Oh, yeah, that's clear. And I have a little prop here for you. So you see, people are running around handing out those little flyers here, and and this is the Biden-Harris count all the vote crowd saying this, that trying to motivate everybody to show up here and to save basically America from Donald Trump trying to steal the election by false statements that there is cheat going on and fraud and what have you. And on the other hand, just a few hundred yards down the street, police yesterday nabbed two people who apparently and allegedly came up here from Virginia with QAnon, this conspiracy theorist, stickers on their car and weapons in their car. According to a tip, and this is media reports, according to a tip to police, they were here to stop the count. So there is friction here, there's tension here, and God forbid this materializes in any form or way in terms of turmoil or unrest.
Stefan Siemens in Philadelphia for us. Thanks so much, Stefan. With Joe Biden urging patience as the last votes are counted, President Trump has again gone on the attack. In his first appearance since election night, Trump made a series of unsubstantiated claims that he's being robbed of a second term. State election officials insist there's no evidence of any wrongdoing.
2 days after the polls closed, President Donald Trump delivered his latest broadside against the electoral system.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes that came in late, we're looking at them very strongly, but a lot of votes came in late.
There is no evidence of voting irregularities in the US. Because of the coronavirus pandemic, many votes were delivered by mail, delaying the count. Mail-in ballots are steadily increasing the lead of Democratic candidate Joe Biden. Seeking to stop the vote count, Republicans have launched lawsuits in several states. Trump wants the legal battle to reach the US Supreme Court, which leans heavily to the right, after he filled 3 of the seats with conservative justices.
We think there's going to be a lot of litigation because we have so much evidence, so much proof, and it's going to end up perhaps at the highest court in the land.
The president left the podium to a barrage of questions from reporters.
Why are you lying to the American people about that? Why are you so delusional?
On the streets, Trump supporters echoed his baseless claims.
If everything is done legitimately and fairly and truthfully, he has already won. He has already won the election. They're just stalling it so they can try to steal it with more and more fake ballots.
Biden took to the stage with a very different message.
Senator, we have no doubt that when the count is finished, Senator Harris and I will be declared the winners. So I ask everyone to stay calm, all the people to stay calm. The process is working. The count is being completed, and we'll know very soon. So thank you all for your patience, but we have to count the votes.
Biden's backers turned out in numbers in Philadelphia, where votes are still being counted.
I'm here because American democracy is at risk, and we have an administration who has stated boldly that they are going to ignore the true results of this election and try to steal the election from what I believe to be the correct winner.
Philadelphia ballots could tip the balance in Pennsylvania and deliver the presidency to Biden. It's made it a target of extremists. Police stopped a group of armed pro-Trump conspiracy theorists suspected of planning an attack on the counting centre. It seems no matter the verdict of the voters, the divisions in the country will persist long after the counting is done.
For more now, I'm joined by Claire Richardson from our U.S. election team, who's been following developments. So, Claire, I mean, there's been a constant stream of accusations, talk of corruption. I can't recall ever seeing this from a U.S. president before. He's essentially calling into question the electoral system as well as the democracy itself.
Well, Michael,
why is he doing this?
It's a good question. As Trump's path to victory closes in, we are seeing him increasingly question the whole legitimacy of the system. But this shouldn't come as a surprise because it's something he's been doing all summer leading up to the election. However, it is fair to say it's unprecedented in modern American political history, right? If you remember when George Bush conceded to Clinton, he made a very gracious speech saying, okay, we need to now get behind the president for the good of the country. But what we're seeing in this case are Trump supporters going to polling locations where the vote is being counted to try and stop the vote, oddly even in states where Biden is actually ahead. So if they were to stop it now, that would give Biden the victory in those states. But what's also interesting is that long before this election, Trump has really cast doubt, particularly over those mail-in ballots. And now as those are coming in, they're the last ones to be counted. They are tending to go for Biden, and Trump is now saying, well, how could that be? Well, it is because he has, since the beginning of this election campaign, told his supporters that that is not the right way to vote.
It's making for some dramatic television watching. Talk to me a little bit about what Joe Biden has been saying in comparison.
Well, the Biden team is very optimistic, as we just heard. They're asking for patience throughout this whole democratic process, saying that every vote counts. That's how a democracy works. And in fact, they've been convinced that the vote will go in their favor since Wednesday. There was this press conference with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They came out and all but declared victory, saying, we're not going to do it yet. We're going to wait for those numbers to come in, but we're confident that when they do, they are going to make Joe Biden the next president of the United States. So now we're just waiting to see those votes come in and see what the actual figures say.
Now, Joe Biden has done the previously unthinkable, pulling ahead in the state of Georgia by a wafer-thin margin. What's going to happen there?
Well, Biden has just pulled ahead, like you said, by such a narrow margin, just about 1,000 votes. And the big news we have coming in now is that we're hearing Biden is also ahead in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. And all eyes have been on Pennsylvania throughout this election. It would be a big prize if Biden wins Pennsylvania. This whole thing is over.
Speaking of over, when can we expect the result? What's the timeline?
Oh, that is the question of the hour, isn't it? We've been waiting for 3 days, but also in a way almost 4 years of a Trump presidency where there's been anxiety throughout the country about this outcome. Look, it's going to depend. Biden is still waiting for that magic number 270. Depending on when Pennsylvania and Nevada finish counting, it could be as soon as today, but more likely it's going to take a few more days just to get those votes counted all in order and to know for sure that we have a clear answer about who the next U.S. president will be. And for anyone who's asking, why is this all taking so long? Again, I have to stress, this has been expected throughout the election. There's an unprecedented number of people voting by mail because of the coronavirus pandemic, and it's simply going to take time to make sure every vote counts.
Just shortly, Claire, I have one more question for you. 2000 was an incredibly dramatic election. What do you make of the drama of this particular election?
I don't think we've seen an election like this also in American political history. And what it says to me is how deeply divided the country is. I mean, you remember in 2016, the pollsters were all caught completely off guard. They'd predicted a landslide victory for Hillary Clinton, no questions asked. And we also saw in the days leading up to this election predictions that Joe Biden would come out quite comfortably. We clearly haven't seen this. It's down to the line on a razor-thin margin. And so we're going to have to really step back. I think the Democrats are going to have to step back, take stock of what's happened, and ask how it did come down so close.
Claire Richardson from our U.S. election team, thank you so much. And surely you should get some sleep at this point.